So the Canadian Liberal Party has picked Mark Carney. They picked Mark Carney to be the brand new Prime Minister of Canada for the time being. The elections, the snap elections, are going to have to happen before October 20th. So whenever Mark Carney decides when the elections are going to be before October 20th of this year, so this is March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. Within the next 7 months, you're going to have a brand new election, and then the Canadian people are going to choose either between this Pierre Poilievre guy, Pierre, and this other guy, and there's another person, but take a look at Mark Carney first.
Je tiens à vous remercier, chers libéraux, de m'avoir accordé le plus grand honneur qui soit.
Pardon my French.
Celui de servir comme votre nouveau chef. Merci.
He speaks English and he speaks French.
Et merci aux dizaines de milliers de bénévoles à travers
Eventually
le
he's
pays
going to say something
pour
that
votre dévouement à rebâtir notre parti et à redonner l'espoir.
you non-bilingual people, he's going to eventually speak English.
I pledge to you and to all Canadians that I will follow their example.
It's crazy listening to French because I don't understand French. It's like they're speaking in code and they're doing it right in front of me. What did you just say? You better translate that shit. You son of a bitch. Did you just insult me?
I will work day and night with one purpose, which is to build a stronger Canada for everyone. But I will need help. I will need a lot of help. And so I'd like to thank Christia, Frank, and Karina for your energy and ideas and leadership that you have brought to.
So, Canada Strong is a good slogan. When I think about when you're up against fascism, you have to be as strong as a fascist, if not stronger. You got to be able to stand up for the three branches, for the Bill of Rights, for the Constitution, for elections. You got to stand up for, well, I'm thinking more about America. But this guy doesn't look strong. He looks kind of tiny and little. And he doesn't have very broad shoulders. And he doesn't have the cool Rico Suave of Justin Trudeau. He doesn't have the cool Rico Suave of Justin Trudeau. He's also not an idealist, so it's hard to buy into what he's selling. He used to be a former bankster, the former Bank of England, manager or something. And people are saying, well, he's much more serious. He's maybe more serious because he has to be. But then that's not as entertaining. He's got to be able to play for the cameras. Personally, I think I like Mark Carney better than this Pierre guy, but this Pierre guy looks like he's unstoppable. Nixon once says that if anybody ever says you must stop X, if there's ever a stop X movement, bet on X.
This campaign.
So Mark Carney is right. He's going to need a lot of help. But I like Mark Carney. He's saying a lot of the right things. He's saying you got to stand up to Trump. You got to stand up to a bully. He's saying a lot of the right things.
President Trump thinks Canada will cave in. We will never, ever bow down to a bully. Canadians will always stick together. And we won't stand by as tariffs hurt our workers and their families. Canadians need to remain united. Now, let me be clear. This situation, unfortunately, could not be more serious. And at times like these, we need serious leadership and a serious plan. I'm ready to stand up for Canada. Who's with me?
And
So El Dolce, they should call him El Dolce, right? It's right that if you ever bow down to a bully, that you'll always have to kiss the ring. Power concedes nothing without a demand, and the limits. This is a Frederick Douglass quote. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. Find out what a people will quietly submit to, and you found the exact measure of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them. And the oppression will continue until it's stopped with words or blows, or with both. The oppression will continue until stopped with words or blows, or with both. The number one law of nature is pursue peace for as long as you can, then self-defense. When dictatorship becomes fact, then revolution becomes duty. A lot of people say might is right. Might is not right. If a bully wants to take your school money, your lunch money, that doesn't make him right. He takes your lunch money, he gets 2 lunches, right? He already gets his lunch. What does he need to take somebody else's lunch money for? But the moment that he is able to get lunch money out of you, he will continue to take your lunch money until he is stopped. And that's just one example of how bullies are. Let's take a look at Pierre. So here's a little Apple video that is actually, it does make him look pretty cool.
On the topic, I mean, in terms of your sort of strategy currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean?
Well, appealing to people's more emotional levels, I would guess. I mean,
What do you mean by that?
certainly you tap very strong ideological language quite frequently.
Like what?
Left wing, this and that, right wing. I mean, it's that type of ideological thing.
I never really talk about left
But
or right.
anyways,
I don't really believe in that.
Okay, a lot of people would say that you're simply taking a paid.
Well, I don't know what the hell is going on with this damn X. Maybe it'll load later on, but he's kind of sort of being a smartass and to this guy, but this guy isn't really responding to the things he's saying very well. What does populist mean? Populist means appealing to the people, being popular. And then he's going to later on say, you're taking a page out of the Trump playbook, and he's like, which playbook? What playbook are you talking about? And then he's just doing this interview. He's got a nice, strong baritone voice while eating this damn apple. Oh, come on! Do we have any other videos of him eating an apple? Doing that interview? Let's see if this plays.
Work, and of course housing is a problem and healthcare is a problem, as was mentioned earlier. The hospital here gets closed quite frequently. Nothing to do with vaccinations, I don't believe. It's a doctor issue. It's more a shortage of doctors. So what do you do in the meantime? I mean, you've got lots of plans for building houses, etc. But in the sort of immediate spectrum, what do you do to
Create a Blue Seal test to quickly license the 20,000 immigrant doctors we have in Canada. Many of them are prevented from ever working, and they give up on getting a job as a doctor. Hard roads lead to the...
The audio's all wrong on this. What is going on today?
All good, slimy politicians. Here's a catchphrase. A slogan, if you may. It's bring it home. And what does bring it home mean to you? What emotions does it draw out in you? Does it draw out feelings of nationalism? When you think of bring it home, do you think of bring our jobs home? Stop shipping our production overseas. Maybe we start to keep our resources in-house. Stop sending our money to foreign wars. Close our borders to mass immigration. All of these are the things that you think of when you think of the slogan, bring it home. What do you get? None of that with him. Not a single bit of it. Slimy, underhanded, manipulative is what that slogan is. And any of you that fall for it and think that voting in a new corrupt politician is going to make any changes in this world, you need to think again.
So that's Anthony Ryan, I suppose. Ryan Goggins. I don't know who that guy is, but that was an interesting video. Why I believe Pierre Poilievre. I heard it as Poilievre. I don't know. Pierre is a lying pinko, apple-eating loser. Pinko, like some sort of communist. It is interesting that the conservatives in Canada believe in universal health care. And then they also had a progressive conservative party, too. There was a time when the liberals ran against progressive conservatives. I'm not exactly even for sure what political party this Pierre Poilievre, Piero, what he is. You know, let's take a look at him eating this apple. Huh?
Taking a page out of Donald Trump's book, but
What are you
also
talking about? What page? What page? Can you give me a
Okay.
page? Give me the.
Eating an apple, and he's talking to this reporter, and the reporter keeps asking him really stupid questions.
a lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of Donald Trump's book, but
What are you
also
talking about? What page? What page? Can you give me a
Okay.
page? Give me the page. You keep
in
saying
terms
that.
of turning things quite dramatically in terms of Trudeau and the left wing and all of this. I mean, you make quite a, it's quite a play that you make on it. So
I'm not
just
sure.
wondering.
I don't know what your quote
Okay,
is.
then forget that. Why should Canadians trust you with their vote?
Common sense.
Okay.
So, I think the questions are legitimate, but the reporter isn't asking in very strong, and Pierre just looks really strong because he's sitting there all casual, eating an apple, just kind of like, what the hell's wrong with you, man? What page? Taking a page out of the Trump playbook? What page are you talking about? By being just like him, by being a damn carbon copy of him, there's but what's interesting, because of Donald Trump, what has happened with the liberals, because Donald Trump got elected, there's going to be a Trump effect, right? So the government of Germany had collapsed, the government of France had collapsed, and now the government of Canada has collapsed. Why? Because we're going to have to deal with this damn Trumpism for the next 4 years. And so that means the world's going to change. There's a new world order. And since there's a new world order, then you're going to have to combat the new world order. If Donald would have just shut his mouth, then, that would have kept on going. You would have had a lot of, Pierres, these people that are taking a page out of the Trump playbook. You're going to have a lot of these, Trumpian people that's going to, I'm not for sure, but the AFD, I'm not for sure who you would say the other, Trumpian candidates, but you had that Bolsonaro, right? Bolsonaro in Brazil, I think that's a good example of somebody taking a page from the Trump playbook. But you're having a blowback. You're having, kind of a resurgence of people that are like, well, shit, we don't like what this Trump is about. And if this Pierre is like this fucking Trump, even, Pierre's having to kind of say, no, Trump, you can't take over Canada. So, and it seemed like it kind of broke Pierre's heart in order to do that. No, Trump, we are our own country. We care about our sovereignty. Donald's talking about Canada like they're piles of shit. He's starting this big old trade war for no damn reason whatsoever. But this is protectionism, right? This is nationalism, protectionism. A lot of the stuff right in the 1920s that happened, before the Great Depression. I wonder if they're thinking that the Great Depression would actually be good for the rich, because if the poor lose all the things that they have and you bleed the middle class, well, that'll just be good for the rich people, right? So what am I trying to say? It's interesting how the liberals are having a resurgence because him talking about taking over Canada. The War of 1812 proves, that we tried to take over Canada once before. America has tried to take over Canada once before with the War of 1812. And it was also against the British. It was against the Native Americans. And a lot of Kentuckians died. The Battle of Detroit, a lot of the counties named in Kentucky are of the fallen American revolutionaries, or, just right after the American Revolutionary generations, the second generation of people who had died, but not for defending independence, but for trying to expand, beyond our borders. and something about the shipping, the impressment. But they burnt down our White House. They burnt down the naval yards. They burnt down our White House. And they also burnt down the archives. I want to say the Capitol. They sacked D.C. D.C. was sacked. James Madison had to run away real fast. It's a fascinating story. And then what did we win in war? We won nothing. I would say it was a loss because we fought a damn war. And they say it's the War of 1812, but it lasted for 5 years. And so the end of the war was status quo antebellum, which means, hey, let's just go back to the way things were. Let's go back to how things were, how our relationship was. Let's just pretend this last 5 years never happened. And so the peace treaty, we lost. The War of 1812, we lost. When we went into Canada, thinking that we were going to liberate them. And lo and behold, the Canadians were like, we're good up here. Nah, we're good. And they fought against us. And there was, a lot of different battles. I guess we took Detroit in the long run, but there was a lot of battles in Canada. They had fought back, and they kept their country. So we did not liberate them from their king. They're still, the king's influence is very much felt in Canada. They've never actually used the nuclear option of overturning any legislation or any elections. But there is the Governor General. There's a Governor General, and then there's the King makes speeches whenever there's the beginning of the Parliament. There's some ceremony things, but because they got that nuclear option, he can veto. Technically speaking, through the Governor General, he could veto any legislation, anything that they do. But I guess since they've never threatened the monarchy, then the monarchy, allows Canada to run the way how it wants to run. So that's actually still today. And on their money in Canada, they got pictures of the queens and kings. So, what am I saying? I don't know. They should have just goddamn let us rescue them. Let us save them. Let's listen to some more of this guy.
There are those who will seek power by dividing us. We'll get to that later on. And we being the people of Canada, we need you, my fellow candidates, myself, to continue in positions of leadership to promote a united Canada. A commitment to common good and the respect and the rule of law throughout the world.
He even kind of looks small behind that damn podium too. If history is a guide, we would lose the war against Canada. Canada has 40 million people. We got 330 million. But then they would have the troops of Britain. So the British troops would be backing them. And then we've already pissed off Europe too. So I think, I don't know how this all is going to turn out. We're living in some scary times. Some unsettled, scary times. The age of revolution, says Fareed Zakaria. So this is the age of counter-revolution. And if history is a guide, we would lose a war with Canada. He's sitting there calling the Canadian president the governor of Canada, right? Like he's just one of the governors of one of his states, and he's talking about annexing Canada, and then he is initiating this major trade war. And so you're going to have a lot of products that aren't going to be sold in Canada. There's not going to be a lot of products not being imported from Canada. Kentucky bourbon, one of the biggest purchasers of Kentucky bourbon is Canada. And so the reverberations of this trade war, I heard a response from China. China had said, well, you could start a tariff war with us or a trade war if you want to, or hell, just start an actual violent war, We will match you tit for tat. I'll be your Huckleberry. I'll fucking, you want to come at us? Come at me, bro. Right? So China's basically like, we ain't scared of anything you can throw our way. Might is not right. Right should be might. We should make right as mighty as possible. If right is not might, then it needs to be. Right needs to be might. We need to make right as mighty as possible. Any excuse will serve a tyrant. What goes up must come down. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. 1 + 1 = 2. 2 + 2 = 4. And E = mc². These are forever rules. These are eternal laws.
See, I quote Bob because right now all Canadians are being asked to serve in their own ways. We're all being called to stand up for each other and for the Canadian way of life. So let me ask you, who's ready? Pierre, who's ready to stand up for Canada with me? 100%. Yes. Yes. Yes, Canada. Yes, Canada. The Liberal Party is united and strong and ready to fight to build an even better country.
So that just looking at the optics, this Pierre guy looks pretty unstoppable, and I don't think this Mark Carney. It doesn't look like the general public will pick Mark Carney. Maybe Mark Carney will stand up to Trump for the next 5 months. I bet my guess is he'll be prime minister for 5 months, and then they'll try to have the election, as close to October 20th, because that's like by law they have to have an election by at least October 20th. But anytime he can call it, right? So Mark Carney can call it at any moment in time. Maybe he can govern effectively. And then people will say, well, hell, he's been, governing effectively and we like him. But listen to,
Après 10 ans des libéraux de Carney-Trudeau, le Canada est affaibli face aux Américains. Ils ont ajouté 100 000 fonctionnaires, brisé notre système d'immigration et bloqué l'exploitation de nos ressources naturelles. Le coût du logement a doublé, la dette nationale aussi.
A doublé!
Et c'est la pire inflation depuis 40 ans. Cette
Puis à
économie affaiblie
40
nous
ans.
rend dépendants des États-Unis et menace
What'd you
notre
call me?
souveraineté.
You're a menace.
Pour reprendre le contrôle et relancer notre économie, il faut couper la bureaucratie, les taxes et impôts, protéger nos frontières et favoriser le libre-échange entre provinces. Exploiter nos ressources naturelles, comme avec GNL Québec, pour assurer notre souveraineté économique et énergétique, ainsi que protéger le Canada contre les menaces de Donald Trump. Le Canada vaut la peine qu'on se batte
What was
pour
that
lui,
there at the
pour
end?
notre peuple, pour notre chez nous, pour le Canada d'abord.
Babo. He's got a strong baritone voice. And so, even though Mark Carney might say Canada's strong, Pierre looks strong. He sounds strong.
Biggest supplier of fertilizer, biggest supplier of aluminum, biggest supplier of semiconductors. We supply almost all their semiconductors. That whole, everybody in the White House is a tech bro except for Trump. They all need semiconductors. They all come from Canada. Maybe they won't. Maybe one day they won't show up. We'll see.
Now, there is one guy here. There is one guy that Canada is strong. It is strong for Canada. So, check out this guy here.
Canadians woke up today to a trade war. This is not something that we wanted. It is unwarranted. It is wrong. It's illegal. And we're going to fight back. And Canadians are already showing that defiance. They're standing up for one another. They're showing that they want to buy Canadian. They're boycotting American. And this is going to be a difficult time. So I'm calling on, in this time, where workers are telling me that they are desperately worried if they are going to lose their jobs. We already have seen massive job losses in the steel sector as a result of the steel and aluminum tariffs. And now we're going to see across the board job losses. The impact of this is probably the worst economic attack on our country that we have experienced in our lifetime.
So Jagmeet Siggy Jagmeet. So this Jagmeet guy, he looks strong. He looks strong. And what a better way to go up against, this white supremacy, this anti-diversity, this goddamn fascist, racist baboon's ass, than to pick a Jagmeet guy. When I listen to Jagmeet, he's right. He's right about a lot of things. He is strong. He's got broader shoulders, or at least he's got better shoulder pads. He looks strong. He looks like a strong man. And being a strong man, he's brave. He can walk into different crowds, different sections of Canada, and, talk his bullshit. You got, he's got that hat, right? He's got that, that weird hat, and racist people won't like it. It doesn't bother me none. It doesn't bother me any. If anything, I think it would be incredible if Canada could actually be fucking smarter than the Americans. Your liberals are done. Neoliberalism is done. Neoliberalism financed, and supported a genocide. Neoliberalism turned their backs on the working class. This guy cares about the working class. This guy is talking about, not just stand up to a bully. He looks like he could stand up to a bully. And he just says a whole bunch of things that are right. I mean, I probably could just pick like 3 things here.
Are you looking for pandemic?
Let's take a look at this clip and then...
Elon Musk to endorse the AfD in Germany, a party widely seen as supporting or embracing Nazi elements in its midst. A party, I'll remind you, that Pierre Poilievre's caucus members met with.
Poilievre.
Trump has then repeatedly threatened to invade other countries. I ask you a question. What do you call someone who threatens his allies, including with the use of military force? Someone who spreads disinformation and proclaims that he is above the laws and fires anyone who won't do as he says. I
believe I would rather Canada annex America. At least we would have cheaper prescription pills. We would have free dental care and free universal health care. My God, I haven't been to the hospital in such a long time. It would be nice to have health care. It would be so nice to have health care. God, it would be so nice. And dental care, and then, prescription pills, whatever. It's, if you need some medicine, that would just be nice to be able to afford your medicine, to be able to afford to go to the dentist, to be able to afford to go to the hospital. That just sounds like a dream come true. Where is that land of milk and honey? Where is that land of milk and honey? And we don't even really believe in our Bill of Rights. So when it comes to freedoms, we don't believe in the Bill of Rights. Like in our government, there's a bunch of fascist cops, fascist courts. There's fascists all over the damn place. And if anything, Donald is just really putting an accurate face on the sickness of this nation. Whereas with Biden, he tries to put on a nicer, kinder face to the fascism. But with Donald, it kind of really, it exposes us.
Those in law enforcement and in the military, you call that person a fascist. I also believe we need to ban Donald Trump from attending the G7 summit. Donald Trump should not be welcome here. Why would we invite someone who has threatened our very democracy, our very sovereignty? Why would we invite someone who has threatened our economic well-being? Why would we invite someone who threatens our allies and threatens the world's stability? Why would we allow a convicted criminal into our country? Why would we invite someone who has such disdain for multilateral organizations? Instead, what we should do is use the G7 summit as an opportunity to work with our allies on a plan to resist Donald Trump and his dangerous threats to the world.
Style relief.
We're in what could be worse than the pandemic in terms of the impacts to our economy and to workers. So we need across-the-board supports for workers impacted. My first reaction now is we need EI that is actually up to the task. And so we've been calling for reforms for a while now. I want that to be put in place. EI that is quicker to access.
So it'd be great if the Canadians can learn the lessons of Americans. When the Democrats, when the neoliberals, when there's a weak candidate that is being picked to go up against a stronger candidate, abandon your liberals, and everybody vote for Jagmeet Siggy, not this Poilievre, Pierre. You both got weird fucking names, and okay, he's got a strong voice, and he's got a nice set of fucking $20 haircut. So what? Who gives a shit? You know, that it doesn't make any sense to vote for a guy that's going to. He wants to be Donald Trump, and Donald Trump wants to take your country over, so what the hell does that mean? Is he just going to kiss Donald Trump's ass? As soon as you vote for Pierre, do you become essentially the 51st state of America? I think you should turn your back on Mark Carney. Mark Carney isn't even liberal in some respects. He's going right-wing on a lot of major issues. And so this Jagmeet Singh, he's actually got, he's got integrity, and he speaks his mind. He's independent, and he believes in the working class. So I believe if you actually want somebody in there, a good fighter for the working class, a good person with principles, I think this Jagmeet would be an incredible pick, and especially when it comes to
that covers more workers, that is the sufficient amount so you can actually pay your bills. The current replacement fee or
Nazi
the replacement
fascist
salary
shit that we're
is
up
not
against.
enough to cover the cost for many families. So we need an adequate EI to meet the needs of today.
Ça serait combien l'augmentation de l'assurance emploi? Vous voulez une augmentation?
Je trouve à ce moment, ma priorité c'est les $4 million. That's who it mostly helps. That is a ridiculous approach in the face of a trade war where we got steel workers in Sault Ste. Marie saying, I'm going to lose my job. We got auto workers in Windsor, auto workers in Oshawa, who every time their line shuts down, they think, that's it, I'm going to go back home. We got workers now across the boards that are wondering, what am I going to do to put food on the table? How am I going to keep my home? And Pierre Poilievre proposes a tax cut for millionaires. I mean, it's very on brand for Pierre Poilievre, but it is not what Canadians need right now.
Two middle class